Finally, Fitness with Dan has come back to YouTube. It's still Fitness, not Dan with Fitness. That doesn't make sense. Been off the channel so long I can't even remember. Hey, what's up, people? So, finally back after a long hiatus. I don't know if you guys noticed, I haven't posted any videos in a while. Today, it is currently 12:52 a.m. Mandy is working an overnight, so I'm doing this video down in the basement. I was planning on doing it up in the office, but I don't want to wake her up. She's getting ready to clock in for work. She's doing an overnight system update or something at the hospital. So where have I been? So that's what we're going to cover in this video. If you can't tell from the title, we're going to be talking about injuries, how I work through injuries, how I warm up for certain exercises to avoid injuries, my new training methodology, and what I'm going to be doing going into the fall and winter this year. Being said, let's start with injuries. A couple things have happened. I was on vacation for a week, and then the rest of the time it's basically been injury stuff I've been dealing with, and work's been pretty crazy as well. So as far as injuries go, I've gotten about 4 injuries since the last video I did. So let's just jump into the injuries, right? Also, before we get into this, I should say, just a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, not giving any medical advice, just talking about the injuries I've had and what I've done to work around and or through and or prevention methods I've used to try to avoid injuries. I'm an accountant. I have no degree in any sort of health, fitness, or therapy related fields. So that being said, let's get into the injuries. So if you watched my last video, which was Pandemic Calisthenics Episode 2, which was about push workouts or push-ups, I did that video, and then the following day, I actually injured my front delt doing bench press. It was just a regular flat bench. I was working up to, I think, 7 to 8 reps. And I guess to get into that, a little bit about my current or my past training methodology. Basically, I did push-pull legs twice a week. One day was strength-focused. The other day, if it was push, for example, one of the push workouts would have been strength-focused. One push workout would have been hypertrophy-focused. So basically with strength, it was usually 6 to 8 reps, maybe slightly lower sometimes. For hypertrophy, it was more in the 10 to 15 rep range. So it was one of my strength days, and I was on the second set, and I was, this is an example of when you should really listen to your body. I was feeling kind of weak that day. The warm-ups weren't feeling too great, and after the first set, working set, it didn't go up great. I got 7 reps, but I really wanted to get 8. So I go on to the second set. I think I get to like the 6th rep, and I'm barely able to get it out. And I'm like, all right, well, I was trying to get 8. I'm not about to settle for less than I did last week, so I'm gonna get these last 2 reps out. So when I go up for the 7th rep, I'm at complete failure towards lockout, and I was just not having it. So I lifted my shoulder off the mat, or off the bench, I should say, to get the rep up. And doing that, I tweaked something in the front delt. So that's been bothering me for about 2 months now. It's actually okay when I'm benching. The only time it really comes up as an issue is when I am doing dumbbell pullovers for some reason, or if I do cable pullovers. There's definitely some little something there. I'm not exactly sure what's happening. But that was the one injury. That was the first injury I had in the series of injuries. And let's actually jump into how I warm up on push day. I think that's relevant here. So a couple things I do to try to prevent this from happening, but before mentioning the actual warm-up pieces, I should say that, again, when I was doing that particular push day, I already knew I wasn't feeling great. I went into the gym feeling fine, but the warm-up sets were really not feeling great, and I skipped some of the lighter warm-ups I usually do, and kind of went into a heavier set to sort of conserve energy. And I think that's an important point, is that you shouldn't not listen to your body. If the weight's not moving great 1 week, that's all right. Maybe you need a deload week or something like that. Don't push it. That's how you can get injured. That being said, what do I do to warm up? So before I even touch the bench, I do a couple really light things. So I'll take like a lightweight, like this 8-pound weight, and I'll do some of these to basically warm up the rotator cuff to try to avoid any kind of pulls or tears there. And then I'll superset that with just an overhead press. And I do this with both arms at the same time. And that's about it. There's one other thing I do, and I want to take a second to talk on this because this drives me crazy. I see lots of fitness influencers on YouTube who are also personal trainers doing this in their videos, and I'm assuming telling their clients to do this, and I don't understand. They take the weight like this, and they basically do this here. Okay, why is this a problem? Well, look where it is, right? Where's the resistance? This isn't a bicep warm-up. Stop jerking people. Quit jerking people around with this, all right? That's not. This is tension on the bicep, right? Because of where the gravity is. What you should be using, if you have a cable, you can use a cable. If you don't have a cable, you can use a band. And the idea is the resistance should be coming from the direction opposite of where you're moving it, right? So the resistance is over here on the left side. You pull it this way. This isn't great because I don't have it actually connected to something, but essentially, you want the resistance to be coming from this direction, not up and down. That's bicep. So I just want to throw that out there because that drives me crazy when I see these guys do that warm-up and tell people to do that warm-up for shoulders. It doesn't make any sense at all. That being said, that's basically my warm-up routine, and then I get into really light bench press work and pyramid up until I get into working sets. So that was the first injury, left front delt. Second injury, a week later, I think this was week to week if I recall correctly, but anyway, second one was I was doing leg extensions, and I think this goes to speak to, it's not always heavy weight that gets you in trouble. I was using fairly light weight. I was doing 25 reps, I think. And again, on the second set, I don't know what's going on with the second set, but I was on the second set, and I set up, and I do one leg at a time when I do extensions now because I get a better contraction. And it was my right leg, and I set it up, and I start doing it, and I noticed it didn't feel 100% right. It didn't hurt. It just felt like the setup was off somehow. Like, I don't know if my leg was a different position. I don't really know, but I didn't feel any pain throughout the entire set. I finished the set, move over to the left leg, do that one. Still not even noting anything being painful or wrong. I go to stand up, and my right leg, just like my right knee, basically like completely gives out. And then it's been bothering me for weeks afterward. It's actually okay now. It seems to have, whatever was going on seems to have corrected itself. I don't know if it was meniscus or what wound up being hurt. It wasn't like a full-on tear. I couldn't walk or anything. It just kind of gave out occasionally. And I'd been doing some pretty heavy-duty hiking after it happened, and it would be fine for an hour, and then suddenly it would just start really bothering me. But again, it seems fine now. I'm able to squat heavy again. Not really an issue. So, but I think that one just goes to point out that it's not always heavy weight, and if your setup feels awkward, stop and reset. You know, you're not ruining your set. You're preventing injury. So, next injury, I'm trying to think here. Well, okay, this was another stupid injury, basically. I was doing deadlifts, and really light deadlifts, just focusing more on speed. I think I had 135 on the bar, and I have the safety rack, not safety rack, but Rogue, like, squat rack with safety bars. And I had the safety bars low. I put the barbell on it. I dropped the barbell to a shock pad I have on the floor. And the safety arms are behind me. And I have bumper plates on it because I don't want to crack my basement floor, right? So I'm coming up, and I do a set, and it's fine. And I'm on the second set again. I just realized it was the second set again. I'm on the second set, and I guess I had, like, shifted backwards slightly, or I was, I don't know, rocking back and forth potentially when I was doing these because I was going quickly. And the left bumper plate, the left bumper plate comes up and apparently hits the safety arm. And if you can kind of imagine that, I'm coming up and then suddenly it's like this. So I get this shock wave of like knife pain to my back, and I'm thinking I jacked my spine up. I don't know what's going on. So I obviously stopped the workout at that point. And, it hurt the rest of the day, but it wasn't like as intense as that initial shock. At one point I'm in the mirror the next morning and I'm staring at myself and I'm like, what's going on? And basically my shoulders are super misaligned. Like my traps look like this, and I'm like, what the hell? So I call Mandy, I'm like, hey, don't tell her what's going on. I'm just like, hey, do I look weird? And she's like, yeah, you look super crooked. And I was like, oh shit. So she winds up touching base with one of our friends who works at the physical therapy office and asking the physical therapist what might be happening, because I would like lay down and you could see like my abdominal wall had shifted to. It was really crazy. I was basically like crooked. And what the physical therapist had said was he thinks that basically, like, because I injured the muscles in the back, it sort of tightened and kind of contracted and went on contract. So what actually I did to fix that was we have one of these massage balls, and I had Mandy use that on my back over a couple days, and it actually helped to loosen it up, and eventually that worked out for us. And I've since bought a massage gun, which I was going to show you in this video, but it's upstairs and I don't feel like walking upstairs right now. But I got it on Amazon for $50. I've tried the like Theragun before. It works literally just as well, and it's only $50 versus like $500 or whatever the crazy shit they charge for that one. So I'm excited to use that for my next injury, which will probably not be too far into the future given what's transpired recently. So that was the third injury. And the fourth injury was, this one's weird as well. I don't know if you want to call it an injury, but I was doing reverse cable flies for like rear delts, and I got like, I don't know, nothing really happened. I was doing a set of 25. I got up to 20, and I was really struggling on the last 5, and I got this like horrible pain right at the base of my skull into the back of my neck, and there's really thick muscle fibers in the back of your neck, and I guess I strained those. Not a huge deal. It feels fine now, but it bothered me for about a week as well. So the good thing is everything's pretty much good now, except for the front delt's a little weird still, but everything else is recovered. As far as tips to avoid injury, I would say, definitely warm up, especially on compounds. Just do some light sets before you do anything else. For legs, I usually do dynamic stretches as well. So namely, body weight squats, leg swings, forward and back and left to right, to warm up the pelvic muscles and the hip flexors. For back, I pretty much do dead hangs. You guys have seen me do those before. And I might do some cable pullovers sometimes to warm up the lats. And then we went over what I did for push day. That's pretty much it. I think the biggest takeaway is just listen to your body too. Like if you're not feeling strong that day, don't go heavy that day. It's not a big deal. It's better to go light on a day you were planning on going heavy than to pick up an injury and wind up not being able to train properly for months or weeks or whatever it might be. Then training methodology. That's what we're going to talk about. So training methodology basically is changing in that I'm not doing a heavy and a hypertrophy day or strength day and hypertrophy day any longer. I'm going to be doing hypertrophy across the board. Again, it's not necessarily that just because you're lifting heavy you're going to get injured. I think most of my injuries that I've mentioned here, 3 of them, were using fairly lightweight, and it was more me just not practicing good form or paying attention to what I was doing. However, with the injuries, it's becoming a little bit challenging to keep pushing strength sets, and I think I do want to just kind of move stuff around and focus on hypertrophy workouts for a while. I don't know if that'll go on into the distant future or if it'll be a short-term thing, but for now I'm going to be switching to more hypertrophy-focused stuff. So I am going to be doing 2 push days still, 2 leg days, and 2 pull days, but each, the first push day, pull day, and leg day are not going to be the same exercise as the second one, but they are going to be in the rep range of probably 10 to 15. As opposed to going any lower than that. So just doing more reps with some lighter weights, basically. But I am still going to progressively overload. The trick will be to try to move weight for more reps, essentially. And once I get to 15, then I'll increase the weight and, try to start over again, getting to at least 10 and then pushing up to 15. So that's going to be how I progressively overload on those. And I'll probably focus more on time under tension, just slowing the reps down. And sort of a combination of that for progressive overload as opposed to, having the strength day to try to maximize, strength so I can increase progressive overload with weight on hypertrophy days. We can't talk today. Too early in the morning. So anyway, that's the plan for that. aside from that, vacation will be another video you guys see next week probably, or the week after. I'm not sure when I'm going to have time to edit that. And finally, what's going on into the fall and winter? Basically, I'm going to be entering a bulk. I'm about 159 right now, so I've actually lost weight over the last couple months without doing any cardio, which is interesting. But so I've lost some weight, so I'm going to go ahead and just enter a bulk, primarily because it's fall and winter, and I want to enjoy the foods that those seasons have to offer. And it's also easier to build muscle in a caloric surplus. Not impossible to build muscle in a caloric deficit, especially if you're holding more body fat, because your body can convert that for energy needed to build muscle as well, but it is more difficult. So partially for ease of building muscle, and partially because I want to enjoy the seasonal goodies of the fall and winter from a food perspective, that's what I'm going to be doing. Primarily, you know, I know the ladies, my wife, she sees the pumpkin spice end cap in the grocery store and she goes to it like a goddamn magnet and buys a bunch of shit. For me, it's apple stuff, primarily apple pie and apple cider donuts. If you haven't gotten that shit before from an apple orchard, I'm not talking about that shit from Walmart, you gotta go to an apple orchard. That is some amazing stuff right there. I did not get it last year because I was in a super deficit, and I skipped the whole freaking holiday season. I didn't even really have Thanksgiving. I had turkey, I think, and that was it. So I'm not doing that shit this year. So that's why I'm going to be bulking. And one final part on that I do want to mention. The last time I did a bulk was a super dirty bulk. I went up to 220 pounds, and I am very much in the camp of calories in, calories out. You need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, caloric surplus to gain weight. But one thing I wanted to note was that I messed up my metabolism doing this shit. The super dirty bulk put me up to 220. It took me 8 months of losing basically a half pound a week to get down to 165, and then I was at, I think, 1,600 calories and doing 500 calories of cardio a day, and I could not lose any more weight at all. And I couldn't lower my calories anymore from a health perspective, and I couldn't burn any more calories because my knees were falling off from doing all the cardio on the treadmill every day. So I think what happened was I probably overtrained myself and put myself in too low of a caloric intake to sustain the amount of exercise I was doing at that point, and jacked up my metabolism so that I couldn't lose any more weight. Like I said, right now I've been eating more, and I'm under 165. I'm at 159 doing no cardio. So definitely something to keep in mind with, you know, fall and winter coming. I know people are probably also thinking about doing bulks because you're going to be wearing hoodies and shit anyway. Just keep in mind that even though, you know, energy expenditure definitely remains king from a scientific perspective, you can jack up your metabolism if you're not careful. And just to avoid doing, you know, excessive bulking. It's not necessary. Let me tell you, I would love to eat like an apple pie a day, but I'm not going to be doing that. But I will eat like a apple pie during the fall, and I'll probably eat a couple dozen apple donuts over the course of the fall and winter. But I'm not going to be going crazy. I think my bulk weight will probably be like 175, and I'll cut it there. And that should let me get fairly lean by midsummer, or mid-early summer. So. But that's it. Hey guys, it's actually the next day. That's why I'm wearing different clothes now, but I wanted to jump in here because I just watched a video on John Meadows' YouTube page. If you're not familiar, John Meadows, IFBB Pro, has his own YouTube page, has a lot of interesting insights to the industry, and he's in a video that he just released today talking to a cardiologist that goes over basically what I was mentioning at the end of this video in terms of screwing up your metabolic rate and not being able to lose weight after sort of getting down to a certain caloric intake and not being able to really cut more calories, and how you can kind of wind up on this plateau where you're sort of completely stuck and almost have to do a complete reset. But anyway, he just released a video, so I'll include it in the link. It has a lot of interesting information, and it was relevant to what I was talking about. And like I said, it just dropped today, so I thought it was pretty cool and wanted to share that. So I'll link it in the description. Follow his page if you're not following it already, and now we'll go back to the rest of the video where I give you the end of video spiel. The video, give it a like, subscribe, and I will get back off this hiatus and get you guys some videos on a more consistent basis going forward. Until next time, signing out.